Welcome, listeners, to this episode of the Cultural Capacity Podcast. I'm excited to dig into this question. How do I know when it is time to leave my job? Oh, such a loaded question. Let's dive in together. Remember, after our intro segment, you will hear a brief ad from our sponsor for the episode. Then we'll dive into this question together. Welcome and bienvenidos to Cultural Capacity, a podcast sponsored by Educator Aid Incorporated, where our team is committed to supporting individuals and organizations on their journey of self-aware leadership, emotional wellness, and development of effective cross-cultural communications. Let's get ready to explore the following topics together by biting into them with little pieces that go really deep to examine ourselves. Topics like bias, culture, cultural psychology, cultural neuroscience, diversity, equity, inclusion, and racial equity. Our episodes are all intended to serve as introspective tools for you as the individual leader or the teams that you're leading. Be sure to check out the links in the podcast description. Let's get ready to learn together. Welcome y bienvenidos to this episode 24 of the Cultural Capacity Podcast. I am having an absolute blast. You will want to be sure to hit subscribe or follow now because I am having a blast interviewing guests for our episodes, our featured voices extended episodes that will be released in 2023, beginning in January. And I'm very excited about this. So make sure that you're already subscribed or following so that you get the alerts on your preferred platform and can tune in because my goodness, we have some incredible guests and I am having a blast interviewing those guests and learning from them and also through their stories that they are sharing about their own cultural origin story, some things about their childhood, and some other interesting questions that we dig into in those featured voices extended episodes, interviews with thought leaders across industries. So let's dive into this question though. How do I know when it is time to leave my job? Now, I'm going to lead by saying you will want to check out the resources section in the notes of the show episode because that is where we always put the most up to date and relevant free resources and links, as well as some paid offerings that we have. And two different resources I want to call your attention to that are helpful for as you process this question with me and we do this together in this episode. And that would be one, the link to schedule a call with our workplace wellness expert coach, which is Kara Howard Gonzalez, who's also Gonzalez Howard, excuse me. She's also our creative director and my sister, my big sister here on this podcast and helps out with so many different efforts and prefers to be behind the scenes, but she knows I love to give her flowers publicly. So, and give her shout outs while she's here. So, all that to say, she has so many different qualifications and certifications from being in the healthcare industry for nearly 20 years as not only a bedside nurse, but so many other roles that she has been a part of, serving on a pretty large nonprofit, their board. And they focus on mental health and mental health services for others in her community. So, anyways, all that to say, that is a link you want to check out. She has a couple different options for types of consultations. So, you will want to check that out, as well as the link to the website for the Social Capital Quotient. That is scquotient.com. There is where you're going to find the free download that I'm about to talk you through to help to start to answer this question. Now, as we said in the show notes, unfortunately, there is no magical formula for if you know if it's time to leave your job or not. What we can do is to start to help you ask questions. And so if you go to that website that's linked below, scquotient.com, you are going to see a free graphic organizer download. You will see my co-author on there, Augustin Amua, who's an incredible business owner as well as educator and speaker and activist out of Chicago. We co-authored this text together last year, and there's a lot of free resources even throughout the text for your own inventory of self. There's organizational inventory, so you can use this with teams. But this one resource, and we're talking about how do I know when it's time to leave my job? It is an 8-page resource that actually talks you through, if you purchase the text, which that is also linked below, it will talk you through actually starting to answer some initial questions that could help you land on the answer for if it's time to leave your job. One section that you'll see on that freebie is really just a brainstorm graphic organizer for you to begin to brainstorm how you might transfer your current skill sets to others and propel that idea forward within your organization if you choose to stay. And you also want to be keeping some type of succession planning in mind before you would potentially leave. So there is that. And then there's also, we just talk you through in a way that you can print it off, use it as a journal, use it electronically, but we help you to map out your legacy. So how do you want to expand your skill set that you already have? But also, how could you translate this to your organization before you leave or if you decide to stay? And then what are the opportunities for yourself? What do you need to improve on before you have this vision for yourself and or your organization in the next 3 years? So the first thing that I always like to start with when people ask this question, how do I know? That's just one free resource that might help you start to gather your thoughts. But when people ask this big question amidst the great resignation era that we're all living in currently, lots happening with inflation, like just so many things happening in the world. How do I know when it's time to leave my job? The first question that I challenge people with, it's actually two questions. One is relational, regarding the personal relationship with yourself and your loved ones. The other is more transactional and technical. The first relational question: are you prepared to deal with the backlash potentially of those who question why you're leaving your job? That could include a partner or spouse, children, grandchildren, cousins, brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, whoever in your world. Have you considered the pushback that you might receive relationally? And are you prepared to deal with that grief part? Because there is a grieving process. Even if you're super excited to leave a job that you don't like, there's still going to be a grieving process because there's a certain level of consistency perhaps that you've had with that job. So relationally, I would have you consider that question first, is to consider, are you prepared mentally, emotionally, spiritually, relationally with yourself to understand the process that you would go through if you're transitioning jobs, or as you maybe still hold your job and start to apply for other jobs or consider what you're going to do next in your career, and what you're passionate about. The other question would be more transactional, and one I wish I would have taken more into account. I talk quite a bit about this on my Instagram page. If you want to follow me there, that is in the show notes as well. But this other question, transactional slash technical, is what do your investment accounts, your cash flow, what do those things look like right now for you? And are you in a place where you are still going to feel as though you can be comfortably provided for? Or are you okay with taking hits and making sacrifices and cutting things out because you might make less money or you might be without pay if you leave your job without something lined up? So, just a couple food for thought questions. Wanted to hop on real quick and connect with you all. So excited about things happening, but please, please check out these resources in the links. Order our text on Amazon and go back and give us a 5-star review there if you find value. And then there's also the free resources or the free consultation with one of our incredible coaches at Educator Aid. So, I hope you got value. I hope that I have you come back to continue learning with me. And as always, let's continue to get compassionately curious together. Thanks for being here. Take care. Thank you so much for showing up for yourself today and tuning in to this episode of the Cultural Capacity Podcast. We're glad you're here. If you found value in this episode, be sure to share out with your social networks. Hit the subscribe button and leave us a review on Apple. You know, all the things. Finally, don't forget to take advantage of our free quarterly subscription that is in our podcast description. The link is right there. It's called Better Community, and we would love to have you join us there too. Until next time, take care.